Okay, well, welcome everybody. We're excited to have you here. This is for the last meeting of the year. This is Brett Garcia. He was a student in my Intermediate 1 class. And that's all you had before, right?
I think so.
That's all, yeah. And then he came back and got his MBA. He finished up at Valdosta, but came back here to get his MBA. And he's worked for about 4 years, I guess, in the industry. And moving from banking to industry. So I thought he might be someone good to talk about working in industry, getting a CPA, getting an MBA, because some people do that instead of a MAC. And so we're really happy to have him back. Thanks for driving down from Atlanta.
No problem.
Good to have you.
Thank you. Once again, my name is Brett Garcia, and I graduated from GSW with an MBA in 2014. And, I'll just go over a little brief introduction if you want to check out the screen. So today I want to talk about a couple different things, why I chose accounting, a little bit about my background, both personal and professional, something about industry, CPA and industry, how those two kind of work together, and a question and answer session if you have any questions. So to start with, I want to go over why I chose accounting, and I'm very numbers focused.
Dollars focused.
Dollars focused, that's a good start. So I think accounting is a great career to go into. Here's some statistics from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. 2015 median pay for an accountant, and this is better than average in my opinion because it doesn't include the very high earners. It's the very middle. It's $67,000 a year. And it's a very accessible career because mostly you need a bachelor's degree to get in. The number of jobs is expected to increase 11% in the next 10 years, up to, or add 142,000 jobs across the nation. So I think that there's a lot of opportunity to, once you actually get into the profession, to move up or transfer. So as far as the work environment for accounting, in industry, there's in the accounting profession, there's about 1.3 million jobs. And here's the breakdown of the top employers. You're looking at accounting, tax prep, bookkeeping, and payroll, and that takes into account your big four, and everything under them, like your local employers such as Draft and Tucker, Malton and Jenkins. Then you have your government, which includes your IRS and every department that has accountants. Finance and insurance, which I actually worked in finance for a while with the banking. Management of companies and enterprises, which is what I do now in the corporate accounting world, and manufacturing. So those make up the top 5 categories. So if you're looking to get into industry, you're probably going to be working in one of those. And here's some of the top 5 that were just named, the median wages. So you can kind of get an idea of where you'll be, not once you start, obviously, but after a couple years of working. So that's kind of an idea if you want to look into those. And here's some jobs that you can look into getting once you have your accounting degree. And another reason that I like accounting is because once you have your accounting degree, bachelor's degree, you're very, very competitive and able to get into a lot of different fields. As you can see, management analyst, financial analyst, you can work for the government as a tax collector, but once you have that accounting background, you're able to do a lot of different things. And here's the little graph of the annual mean wage, which they didn't have an annual median wage, which I would have preferred. But you can kind of see, the major cities, East Coast, your wages are going to be a lot higher, but they also don't go as far. So anyway, my background, I went to Valdosta State. I attended Georgia Southwestern for a year and a half, and then went to Valdosta State because I had to get away from my parents. So I went down there, graduated in 2011, moved back to Albany and started for Heritage Bank, which is now Renaissance Bank. And I worked in their commercial credit department for a little over about 2 years, and underwrote commercial loans, did analysis for their relationships, mostly in excess of $2 million. And then I cross-trained in a couple different departments there. While I was working there, I came back to GSW, got my master's degree in business administration, and then in 2017, so just last month, I was certified as a CPA. So that's my latest little thing.
I have a question.
Sure.
Did you have a party when you were?
I did until it came.
Okay. Brett's friends with my son, and I just heard about the party. Yeah.
Yeah, we actually, my girlfriend and I did a trip to Germany and Switzerland.
To celebrate.
Yeah.
So it's a big deal.
It's a big deal, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
It's going to hopefully open up a lot of doors. So it's kind of still setting in, but it's done.
Yeah.
So I did the management associate job at Heritage Bank, which was kind of a catch-all training job to see, what kind of department I wanted to be in. And then I was really interested in accounting, so they stuck me in the commercial credit department to kind of get a lid on if I wanted to do that or if I wanted to move into a more accounting role. So at the end of my tenure, I moved into the accounting function, which was separate from the commercial credit, and stayed there for a couple months until a job opened up in the mortgage division, which is in Atlanta. So then I took that job and worked there for about 1.5 years, kind of doing a lot of reconciliation, kind of the grunt work of accounting. And then I moved into my current role, which is I'm a corporate accountant at Republic National Distributing, also known as National Distributing to most people. It's a spirits and wine distributor. I think it's number 2 in the nation. So I'll tell you a little more about my job once I get into it. So here's I've passed around a calendar, and that's our monthly calendar, and it kind of gives you an idea of what we do on a daily basis when we're closing our books, and every month is just about the same schedule. So for those of you listening in, on the screen, I've kind of done a little synopsis. So day 1, we'll post our accruals for the month, and this includes our insurance. So we have insurance for our locations, and it includes accident insurance, building insurance, and we pay that once a year. So every month we make an accrual, and so say our insurance is $36,000. Every month we post $3,000 at the beginning of the month, and then once that's paid, we'll reverse all of those accruals. So after the accruals are posted, on day 4 we'll post payroll, which we have a payroll department, so I don't really see any of that. Day 6 we'll close accounts payable, and that's when the fun begins. We'll start with our purchase journal, which is a document that I get from our branch, which I manage 2 of those branches, Tampa and Pensacola. And so we're basically comparing the purchase journal that they give us to our accounts payable. And usually there's some discrepancies there, so we're in charge of reconciling those. On day 7, we'll have our P&L, the draft, completed. And we'll send those off. We'll update the variance analysis, which is we're going to compare, we just completed March financial statements, so we'll compare March 2017 to March 2016, and if there's a big difference, we'll have to figure out why and address that, and then we'll do a year-to-date variance analysis as well. So we're all looking for consistency, basically. So the next day, after we've kind of looked into the P&Ls, we'll send them off to our operations managers, which is kind of like the branch managers are in charge of doing everything at the branch level. And they'll go over those, and I'll send them a detail of our expenses. And basically, they'll look over everything. They'll tell me, they have no problem telling me what's wrong with those. And they'll give me a list of everything they want. Reclass, which is where you have to move an expense to a different account, even to a different house or a different branch. So there's a lot that goes into it before you actually can send out the financial statements. So when they give me all of the information that I need to make my reclasses, I'll make those entries, and those are usually about 100 lines apiece. The GL cutoff is the next day. So after that, we can't make any more entries unless you go to management and beg for forgiveness. And on day 10, we'll send our financial statements to management for review. And the next day, we send the final out to regional managers, branch managers, the CFO. Everybody gets those. And then we'll have a couple days to work on our balance sheets for the branches, and then we'll have to turn those in. And so on day 16, we have a big party, and then we kind of have the rest of the month to kind of fill in everything else that we have to do.
So can you take a vacation during the first 15 days? Really?
Yeah, you're not supposed to. So any vacations have to be after close. So the one I just took, actually, as long as it's before the day 6, the accounts payable close, they're more lenient. But after that accounts payable closes and before the P&Ls are sent out, you can't really be out. So it's a good time. So here's a kind of a little view of what I do every day. So I don't know if anybody's familiar with Atlanta traffic, but it's ridiculous. So I come in at 9 o'clock, which my commute is about 25 minutes. So that's a good one. So when I get at 9, I'll kind of look and see, what did I do yesterday? What do I need to tie up? So I'll finish my work from 9 to 10. From 10 to 11, I'll review and post our daily reports, which I pass 2 of those around, and it should say daily report at the top. And basically, this is a document we get electronically from the branch, and it has our sales on it. It has our cash activity, so the branch will receive checks from customers, both in the mail from their delivery drivers. They'll do a check on delivery, and we get wires by fintech and other electronic financial companies. So basically, they give me all of that information, and I have to compile into a journal entry. So that's the journal entry, one of them that I post every day, and at the end of the month, we compile those into a binder and stop this big. So, and we keep those for review because we have to reconcile the cash activity on that versus the bank statement that we have. And those come in handy for figuring out, why the bank statement has these numbers, but we're posting these numbers, and there's always outages, there's always, a 2-hour phone call to get these figured out. So it's quite a bit of work, but it's also kind of fun to break the monotony a lot of times. You do kind of dig into it and see what went wrong. So for industry accounting, this is some of the things I like about it. There's a great work-life balance. It's rare that I'm at work past 6 o'clock. I go in at 9, take lunch, leave at 6. There's a lot of consistency in work duties for those of you who like to have a schedule or who like to know what you're going to be doing every day. It's good, at least in my position. I think the pay and benefits are great. Obviously, these are going to vary from company to company, but they usually have good retirement options, good paid leave. Also, you have the chance to work for an industry that excites you. So if you're really interested in, say, like I'm interested in music equipment, like guitars and stuff, I could choose to go into, a distributor for that. But I'm also interested in liquor, so I chose to go liquor distributor. So I think it's interesting to kind of get to know the ins and outs of the industry. There's a lot of stuff that I didn't know about as far as supplier investments, where like Jim Beam or Sazerac they'll give us incentives to sell their product. So you get so much money per case if we move the product, things like that. I think that's interesting. And then we get, promotional materials and goods. So
sample.
Scheduling is pretty flexible. If you well, when you're not closing the GL. But anytime I need to leave, it's difficult about that. And the work is pretty challenging, and I think that there's always, most of the time, if you want more work, you can ask for it. There's always work you can dig into. Does anybody have a question about like the ins and outs of daily industry work? Okay. All right, so here's a couple of opportunities if you want to work for one of the big companies in Georgia, and this is the top 10 Fortune 500 companies that are headquartered here. And there's as you can see, it's quite diverse as far as the industries that they're involved in. And in the Atlanta area, you have most of these, the Home Depot, which is very close to where I work. UPS, Coca-Cola, Delta, of course, is headquartered there. If you've never been to the airport, you would definitely know that they're headquartered there. Southern Company, which is Georgia Power, genuine parts company. They make a lot of car parts. If you get in a wreck, you gotta get your car repaired, they probably made the parts for it. First Data is a big credit card processing company. HD Supply, Verita, those are kind of specialized industrial, and then SunTrust. Everybody knows about SunTrust down here. But these would all be, pretty good choices if you want to get in with a good company and have that name recognition on your resume. So I recently earned my CPA license, so I would like to talk a little bit about that. So you might be wondering how earning your CPA license can help you in your career when you're a staff accountant at a company, say Bob's Candies. So basically, the CPA designation is a showing of initiative, first mostly in industry. It was one of my personal goals to get the license since I've been in school. So kind of put it off for a little while and wish I would have gone for it when I was in school. But so I'm 28, just finished it, and so it's to your managers. It kind of shows you that you want more than what you currently, than the level that you're currently at. And the main thing is that if you ever want to move up, or if you ever want to switch companies or do something else, it differentiates you from the other candidates who may not have a CPA. They may have been a senior for a while, but that kind of puts you over the top, in my opinion. And I also learned a lot when I was studying. So it's definitely helped me in my everyday work. So does anybody have any questions about that?
Maybe if you could speak to what study guide you used and how long it took you, like in months or years, and
years.
And how many, I don't know if you want to share how many whether you, okay. So
I started the CPA process twice, and the first time was when I was working at Heritage Banks. This was back in probably 2013 or 2014, I can't recall. But I decided I wanted to do it. I bought the whole Gleim package for that, and when I got the books, I was like, wow, this thick. And so I kind of looked at those and kind of got into it, but I wasn't fully on board with the process. So I took one test, did awful. I did the financial test first, and completely bombed it because I had never studied for something that much. And this is, this is a 150-hour, 200-hour study journey. But so I was discouraged with that. So I put it off, and it was probably, I think it was late fourth quarter in 2015, I took the business BEC, the business test, and I had switched to, I still had the Glime books, and they gave me the 2015 update for free because I had bought them a couple months before and the update came out. So I used those, and I had heard of a website called Ninja CPA Review, and they had, everything I read about it had really good reviews as far as the test bank. So I bought the test bank for the business, and it was like $39 at the time for access to like 2,000 questions. So I did 2,000 questions twice. And so I really was able to hammer down on the concepts, and I liked it because they have not only the question, but the answer, and they also have the codification to where you can look up why your answer was right or wrong. And it's my main selling point was the price. I mean, Glime has a great resource for questions. The audio guide kind of put me to sleep, but it was a kind of a robotic voice. But the Ninja definitely helped me out. That was probably my biggest thing, was doing those multiple choice questions over and over and over again. And I can't speak to the new CPA exam, but that's definitely how I passed, was doing multiple choice questions over and over.
So you didn't study so much the outline?
If I had a topic that I just completely bombed in the questions, because I remembered a lot from school, and so I would just do like a pre-test, and if I just completely did awful in one, I would go through and read that section. But I don't know if you've seen the Glime books, but they do every single intricacy that you could get. So and also with the Ninja books, I bought the notes and just hand copied those, and they just give you the basics and kind of let you do a quick review. But yeah, the Glime it shows you everything that you could ever possibly get asked, and that was a little overwhelming. So I appreciated the concise format of the other. So I did use both, though.
Okay. Do you think somebody could just use Ninja?
They have the multiple choice question bank, and they're about, I think the financial section was about 3,000 questions, and I did that one twice too. So they have for all 4 tests, and I think they have a subscription plan where you can get a year or 18 months, and I think it's $100 or so. And you have access to all 4.
And you think you could pass the exam with that?
They have books too, yeah. And they're very cheap, and they're good. Wow. Good format. But yeah, everybody's different, but I can attribute my passing to doing multiple choice questions.
Okay.
So, and not only doing the questions, but seeing why I was wrong, because that's the main part. I can get it right, but I could have guessed, and if I didn't really know it, I would read it, and then if I really didn't know it, I would write the answer down and why I got it wrong, so for next time I would know. And so every time I did that, I would come back to the question and read it, and I would know it for the next time. Any other questions I know you guys had someone recently for the CPA.
Actually, she wasn't able to.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it's really good that you're talking about that.
Do you guys have any questions about review systems or anything? I've seen most of them. Do you want to know anything? It took me 4 years to do it, so.
That's okay.
How many times did you have to take it?
Oh, yeah. So I took a total of 7 exams, and I took BEC, which is the business exam. I took that 1 time. I took financial twice. I took auditing twice. And I took regulation twice. So
Is that counting your early attempts? That's counting all of it. So that's really not bad.
So and it's getting, and you have to get a 75 to pass, and getting a 74 is a lot. So.
You know what I know the new test, they're changing it a little, they're supposed to be changing it this month.
Yeah, they're, I can't remember exactly what it's called. I think it's document resource simulation, I believe is what it's called. And I believe I got one, because on the exam they give you a pre-test questions, and I believe I got one, but they don't tell you which one's a pre-test. So it's basically where they give you memos and receipts, and you have to go through and basically they'll ask you what's the amortization for year 3 on this tractor or stuff like that. And they're pretty challenging. So I would definitely recommend if you're gonna go the CPA track to get some kind of system that you can review that. Because it's not necessarily knowing the numbers, you have to know how the system works in order to do well in the simulations. And it's not a cheap process, so if you can take it one time, that's definitely for the best.
Did you have any problem, did you have stresses meeting the 18 months from your first?
I did. So I passed the first one in, I think it was October of 2015. So I was originally scheduled to take the financial, which I had originally bombed. I was scheduled to take it in November, or it might have been the last 10 days of December because they had moved the testing period because of the new changes and all everybody's trying to get in. Yeah, I was supposed to take it then. Work was crazy with year-end close, so I couldn't really, I could have, but I put it off. And so I had to move it to February. And I took it in February. Like, if I don't pass, I'm gonna have to take the new test. And so that was my motivation for sitting down. And I want to say I put right at 200 hours in studying for the last test. I was like, I have to finish this. So I did.
What was your daily schedule like as far as studying and work and home, and how'd you balance all that?
Are you sure you want to know?
I want to know because I've been accepted to the master's program, so I'm going to do that. Okay. Then I'm going for my CPA. I'm 36. I have 3 kids, husband. I work 40 to 45 hours a week.
Okay.
So I want to know your balance.
Yeah. So I would go into work. I didn't study in the morning. Some people recommend that, but I would go into work. Luckily, my employer was pretty flexible, and they would allow me to, if we just had nothing to do, then I could do questions or something like that on the computer. But I would stay at work. That's probably something that it's not available to you because I don't have the distractions that home does. But I would do about 3 or 4 hours of just straight questions after work. And I also the Ninja had some review videos, and I would watch those or listen to those while I was working, and that was definitely a help.
I'm a repetitive person, so that sounds like something that would interest me.
Yeah, he also has an audio review, and they're pretty cheap too, and they're pretty good as far as covering everything. But yeah, on the weekends we're studying.
Okay.
I might wake up at 9 o'clock, start studying, take a break for lunch, and then study until 8 o'clock. So
Ooh.
This was probably Thanksgiving to February.
Okay.
So, and I made time for the holidays, but.
So you studied like 8 weeks like that, or? Okay.
I didn't have a life. And if you're gonna take the exam, don't expect to have a life.
Yeah.
That's right.
But get it over.
That's right.
Rather do that than take it twice or 3 times.
Yeah, you don't wanna put all that work into it and walk away with it and find out, 2 months later that you get a 74. Because you didn't study So, yeah, I didn't have a life, and I think that there's certain things like those books that I had, the client books, I think that there's more efficient ways to study than reading those the whole time. Find out the areas that you know, reinforce those, and then find the areas that you don't know, and then study those.
Okay.
That's my go-to, at least.
Sounds like a good tip. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
I mean, I guess it's just an observation, but it seems like everybody that's come to talk to us has had a different study guide. And I guess the bottom line is that whichever one you pick, you have to really attack it like crazy.
It depends on what works for you, and you have to figure that out.
Right.
And it might, take failing one to figure it out, which that's hopefully doesn't. But I thought I could read the books and then do it and not do as many questions, and that it didn't pay off. So yeah, just find out what works for you. I find the test, at least when I took it, I don't know the format of the new test, but there's 72 questions per test, multiple choice, and then you have the 3 or 4 simulations, so.
Did you feel like you had seen some of the questions before?
I did. The Ninja questions are mostly old AICPA release questions, so.
And some of them looked familiar?
Some of them were exactly the same, besides the numbers. So I was like, I've done this question 10 times. I know how to work this.
Got this one.
Yeah, especially that's why I'm so on board with the Ninja products, is that they're, number one, the price is great. Number two, the material is basically the same thing you're going to see on the test. So, I mean, hammer those out and you should be good as far as the multiple choice goes.
When you graduated and you started to study for the test, did you feel like that there were certain stuff you were weak in because it's been forever since you had seen it and you had to go back and refresh on it?
Yeah, so I was always okay in the audit and the business areas, but the taxes really killed me, and some of the intricacies of the financial test. Because the financial exam is just, they give you these massive word problems and the simulations that you have to do. And I will tell you that IFRS is, I don't know how much is in, because when I was in school, they were just doing the convergence. But IFRS was probably the 10th test for financial. So you have to know about IFRS, how it compares to GAAP, and where they converge. So you need to know they'll ask you an inventory question or something about IFRS, and you have to know how this is counted in IFRS versus GAAP. And that's one thing that I didn't really study, but luckily there weren't too many of those. So. Any other questions about the exam rig? Well, here is the conclusion. I'm just going to say that I think the industry is a great choice if you're not sure about public accounting. I don't think it's too late to get into public, even if you spend a couple years in industry. The CPA designation, while it may not get you the immediate promotion, it will help. And if something comes available in your current job, you can show them, look, I'm doing this. And that'll look favorably upon you, but also if update your LinkedIn, somebody may be looking for a CPA or something and will contact you, who knows. But it can only help you in your career. So it's a long process, but I would say it's definitely worth it, and I would think that any of the CPAs in the room would agree with that.
Do you have many people in the couple of layers above you that are CPAs?
Yeah, everybody in the company that's above me, as far as like direct managers, everyone's a CPA. So, what I was told, in order to be promoted, you have to have a CPA license. So,
Yeah, that's what we
hammered it out and got done.
You said that each part would have around 70 questions, multiple choice?
Yeah, the format that I took, it was around 72 multiple choice questions for each one. The business test is a little shorter. I think there was maybe 60, but you also have a written communication section, which is where you're basically kind of similar to the other one, where you're getting these documents and you have to write a memo to like your CFO or to your CEO as the CFO or something like that. So I would say that for me, the business exam was the easiest because it's like economics and stuff like that. So you're dealing with like elasticity, and there's a lot of questions about that. And so it was not too in-depth in accounting, but just kind of an overall. But yeah, it's about 72 questions for each test, and then you have the simulations.
How long would it take you to take the test usually?
Well, you only have, I believe, financial and, I can't remember if it was auditing or regulation. I think it's financial and auditing are 4 hours, and regulation and business are 3 hours.
Basically, you run out of time.
I ran out of time every time.
So there's just a finite amount of time. These are long questions.
So the setup is your multiple choice questions are first, and it's a series of 3 testlets. So you have so many in each one, and then you have your simulations, which is the last part, luckily. So you can, on the multiple choice, you have access to all, it's split up into 3, so you have access to all the questions in each testlet at any time, so you could flip through and flag the questions that you're not sure about and move on to the next one. For the simulations, you can do the same. But it's good that the simulations are last because, to me, if you don't know, put something in there, and you might get it right. You know, it's not a you know, you got it wrong or you got it right. It's like every cell counts for something. So when you're doing it, don't leave anything blank.
That's how I take this anyway.
Maybe you could talk about the MBA and why didn't you get a MAC? Why did you want to do an MBA?
Sure. So I was really interested in more, I wasn't sure if I wanted to do the CPA, so I kind of wanted to go, I knew I liked business when, you know, because I went to school and got my degree in accounting, but I wanted to get kind of an overall experience, and I wanted to get kind of exposure to every side of business that maybe I didn't know about. And I was kind of entertaining some financial type careers. So getting the MBA, definitely, I guess I really enjoyed the accounting classes in the MBA, so I went ahead and did the CPA.
You got your MBA here?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, 2014 was when I stopped, so I graduated. So yeah, I definitely enjoyed the all-around aspect of it instead of just completely focused on accounting.
So you feel like it gave you a pretty broad background to be in business and...
Yeah, and it taught you, I feel like it taught you more of how businesses operate in general as opposed to this is how you build a balance sheet.
So you felt like you'd kind of run the gamut in accounting anyway?
I thought I had, but as this, you know, testing process is it gets a lot deeper than I thought. So, but yeah, I really enjoyed the, you know, hearing about Mr. Wernick's experience at the hospital and in his class and all that. It was interesting, you know, hearing from a CEO's perspective about how everything was and all that. So who knows, you know, we may be a CEO one day, and it'll only help you. Any other questions?
Does your company have much turnover in their staff accountant ranks?
There's a lot of people that have been there for a long time. Like my managers, I think going on 20 years. There's only been one or two people that have left in our accounting. AP is another story. But, I think they do a lot of times in AP. But
Okay.
How did you get your job there, and what kind of job search tips do you have?
So I was in my role at the mortgage company doing the, you know, reconciliations 8 hours a day, and it's kind of like this, you know, this isn't what I want to do, and so I had my LinkedIn profile up and had people messaging me a lot, and so I found one that I kind of felt like was somebody that I could talk to. So they reached out. I emailed them back saying, I could be interested in, this position or a position. So I sent them my resume. They found a couple of jobs that they thought I would be interested in. So I told them, yes, go ahead and put me into that. And and then I interviewed them one, and apparently they liked me because they called me back the same day. So.
This was LinkedIn, you said?
Yeah. So have you seen it before?
No, that's why I was asking.
It's kind of like Facebook for professionals almost, that you put your profile in there and where you work, and then anytime you change jobs, you put that in there. And I mean, I recommend that everybody have a LinkedIn profile.
Absolutely.
And also connect with me, because like I keep up with Brett and other people through LinkedIn, and then whenever there's a job that opens up, then I can look through those people.
So yeah, it's basically, it has your phone number and all. It's basically Facebook for professionals, and
Except there's not any pictures of kids or anything.
At least not in my circle.
It's very professional.
Yeah, and, you know, if you're gonna get a lot of recruiter email.
Right.
And every now and then I'll just scroll down on the news feed like you have on Facebook, and recruiters will just post jobs on there, job descriptions, and if you wanna, you know, more information on a job, they'll give you the info. But I would absolutely recommend it I don't know is it pretty busy down here?
Not super busy, but like, for instance, the dean told me about a job a week ago, and then yesterday or today it showed up on LinkedIn, that same job. So pretty much every job, you know, that I hear about is also on LinkedIn.
Yeah. And I don't know if anybody's searched for a job lately, but there's a lot of websites out there like Indeed and
Monster,
yeah, that you can put your resume out there. I wouldn't waste my time on those.
And there's a lot of people that, you know, apply to those type of jobs, but this is more of a narrower focus.
Well, the thing about LinkedIn, they can put a face with the name on the resume. So you're not just a, you know, piece of paper, you're someone who these people will talk to. And, you know, when you talk to a recruiter, they're gonna wanna meet with you, so you're gonna have to go in and talk to them, tell them what you're interested in, and I like that you can do that instead of just randomly shooting out resumes.
So did you have to pay this recruiter, or your company pays them?
The company who is hiring pays them, and I'm not sure how that works, I don't know if it's a percentage or what, but if you have to pay a recruiter, then you need to look somewhere else as a candidate.
Right.
But yeah, if you don't have a LinkedIn, I would definitely go that route.
Yeah.
So any other questions about job searches? I know that's a fun topic.
Did you go to a professional photographer and have your picture made, or did you just
I did.
stand in the corner and have your girlfriend take a picture?
I think my current picture was taken at a wedding, so I was a groomsman, so it's close. You know, but I have looked into getting like a more professional shot done just for whatever use. That maybe for the Facebook page.
Yeah, so I contacted Brett when he passed the exam, and this is probably how this whole conversation started maybe, that I'd like to put something on the website about you passing the exam, and then his picture's a little grainy, so then we've just gone this back and forth thing. So every once in a while, it's good to have a nice quality picture, and this would be a good time because I'm going to put his stuff on our website for passing the exam. So
just gotta find one.
I'm going to take one with my phone and see if Jonathan's happy with that one.
Okay. Glad I did more polo today.
Anything else?
Any other questions? All right, well, hopefully I was able to give you kind of a glimpse of the world of industry as opposed to, you know, auditing and taxes. But I know that's the default for accounting, so it seems like the default.
And we will have a lot of students that are on our online classes that will access this when we put the video out there, and, you know, will respond to us that they have watched it and everything. So it'll be many more people than this that will benefit from it. So we really appreciate it.
We really do appreciate it.
And if you have any questions, I put my email up on the screen, garcia@gmail.com. I'll be happy to answer any questions you have, or if you want any advice. I don't know how much I can give you, but I'll be glad to listen to you.
Can we connect with you on LinkedIn if we have one?
Yeah, and I can give you that information now, and I don't know if you want to put it up on I don't know if you can put a link up on the page.
For LinkedIn? I can. In the classes?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can do that.
For anyone who's watching.
Okay.
Wants to,
Yeah, I'll do
wants
that.
to see my profile or something like that.
Okay.
All right. Well, thanks for coming and listening to me.
Thank you.
We're going down.
Brett drove, 3 hours to get down here to talk to us, and then he's going to turn around and go drive 3 hours back, so we really do appreciate it.
Well, I heard some great country music and listened
Okay.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right. Thank you, Brett.
Go ahead. I don't know if anyone saw the income statement, but obviously these numbers are fake. But I kind of just wanted to show you how this works as far as the, what goes into our gross profit. And then we have some industry-specific line items in there until you get down to net income. Because I know you guys see these in your textbooks, and they're just kind of there. But this is a real-world example of how they operate.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna scan this and put this on the class too. Yeah, I appreciate you doing that.
Oh, yeah, no problem. I just had to make sure that since it's a private company, I didn't want to publish any numbers, because then I would get in trouble.
You like your job. Okay.
Okay.